The introduction. Welcome, everyone. We'll spend some time here today learning about a tool that I think for OTAN, that's the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. I'll tell you a little more about that, but a little bit about myself. I've been working in technology for way longer than I care to admit. So I really got to know technology in very remote locations. I basically grew up in the state of Alaska, and that state is very large, and the only way we could reach people was through the use of technology. So this is a device that I think you'll find very interesting. I have seen it in action in different scenarios, so I think you'll find it a possibility. But before we go too much farther, I'm going to switch the screen around. So hold on, it's going to kind of switch around on you and ask you to answer some questions. There are 4 pods on the screen. You'll see them labeled. I'm going to move one just so I can wiggle it a little bit here. I'll move one that's like not in use yet, but they're down here. We've got 3 questions, and the 4th little box here is for you to provide an answer to the other answer for poll question number 3. So I'm really trying to get an idea of who you are, what's your role in adult education, and then we'll have another page here in just a moment. So I'm going to pause and kind of shut up for a second, let you read through these and make your answers, please. I am going to be looking at the totals on the polls to get as close to our full contingent of attendees to answer these questions. And don't forget, if you have another type of question, you can always post it in the chat pod. And I will be pausing and asking for feedback. So no going off on little bunny trails. Pay attention. There will be a quiz at the end. No, just kidding. Not too many corrections programs. Okay. Good mix of instructors, administrators, staff, and others. Satellite facilities. Okay, those of you that marked other in that question, does your agency offer educational programs at any of the following? Fill it out over there in that 4th pod, the other responses. Where do you have programs at any other sites other than, say, a main campus? Okay, so I'm going to pause for about another 15 seconds. I don't have the full contingent of everybody in the participant list answering these questions. So please, if you just take a moment and select your answers just by clicking on the little radio buttons, I would appreciate that. I see we've got more folks joining us. Thank you and welcome. We're just doing a little poll here. There's several questions on the screen, each in a little box. So you just simply need to select the radio button that best represents your situation or an answer. And the final question there on the last poll question, there is an option for other that I'm asking folks to give me a response of what that other may be in terms of, does your educational facility offer programs basically off-site, off of your main campus, and where those may be. Okay, so another 10 seconds. I just saw we had several folks join us. I do have another set of poll questions, so I'm going to switch the screen in about 5 seconds. I see Cecilia is typing, so I'll try not to interrupt that flow of thought here. Give her a second to finish that. Okay, thank you, Cecilia. I'm going to switch the screen once again, so hang on. So here we have 2 additional questions. I think this should work. On the left-hand side is describe your knowledge of open educational resources. So just answer, I've given you 3 radio buttons, pretty straightforward. And then the last pod is, what do you expect to get out of today's session? And this is a free narrative answer. And the reason why I'm asking this is, it's kind of interesting that you're here because it's an odd title, but it does say something about remote learners. So I want to get a better sense of what you're really looking for, because I might be able to add resources on the fly and help you with whatever your goals are. Okay, so we've only got about 8 people answering that question. So we've got 20 people in the room. So let's get a few more answers in that poll question number 4, please. And then answer poll question number 5. What do you expect to get out of today's session? And it's okay if you say, I just thought it was an interesting topic. That's fine. But if you're really looking for something, tell me about it, because then I think I can help you. This is where I need like Jeopardy music or something. I hate dead air. So nobody's going to answer that 5th poll question. If you can't get into the box at the bottom, can you let me know? Should be able to answer here. Let's see. Can you get to that? Veronica, can you try it? Or Melinda? There should be a text box like the chat pod at the bottom of that pod. What do you expect to get out of today's session? Okay, they are. Okay, well, let me see here. What's going on? Oh, there we go. All right. I see the issue, Veronica. Thank you. Okay, got a few more answers on our poll question number 4. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I see we have some other folks just joining us. Thank you. You just kind of missed out on our polls, but as we continue on, there'll be plenty of time to ask questions in the chat pod. Cecilia, yes, I can see your answer. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the main lobby here. So hold on to your britches if you guys are typing anything, because it kind of is disruptive. Somebody moves your cheese, so hang on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So one moment, please. And you should be able to see my slide. And it's basically the same thing that you saw before. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So our session today is meant to be an exploration, because we're dealing with a technology I'm calling it local, because that's the beauty of it. It basically provides you a way to connect in an internet-like environment without being on the internet. So we'll talk about what is Rachel. It is an acronym. That's the quiz, right? We'll look at how it's currently used. We'll look at ways or ideas that it may be used or is used in education. I'll give you at least one example. And then I'd like to have a discussion through the chat pod of what would you use it for, okay? What would you use this for? So if you are interested in getting a copy of this presentation, you should be able to click right on this link on the slide. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know why we can't do that. Oh, that's because it's live off the web. So if you have a QR code reader, you can go ahead and take a picture of that QR code, or if you can remember that URL, or if you want to type it into another tab in your browser, you can do so and take a copy of this presentation for future reference, or if you want to share it with others, you're more than welcome to do so. So I'll give you a moment to either grab your cell phone or your mobile phone to take an image, or you can jot down that URL. It is case sensitive, so where you see lowercase, make it lowercase, and where it's uppercase, make it uppercase. And that last letter is a Q. And we can actually, thank you, ABG Tech, I was going to say, we can just type it in the chat pod. You can click on that and get to the presentation. So you can have a copy of this. All right, moving forward. So this is a bit about OTAN. There may be some of you in the audience that have used a lot of the OTAN services over the years, but we are basically one of 3 statewide leadership projects that we deal with the integration of technology into the educational process. So we're really looking at helping teachers empower learners to meet their academic and employment goals. There is a link in the video, we're not going to go over it now, that you can get more information about OTAN in that sense. But we also provide face-to-face and online training. We also have digests and newsletters for teachers and administrators. And we have news that we post on our website, which anyone can just go to our website and read those news articles. We also have many articles about teaching with technology, with examples, tips, tricks, videos, tutorials, etc. We also host our own technology and distance learning symposium. And that's a lie. The registration is not still open. I'm sorry, I missed that as an edit on my screen. We just came off of that just a week and a half ago up in Napa. So it is something that we offer. And next year we're going to be down south. We're currently working on our location. And once we know, we'll post it on our website. So OTAN is basically funded to help schools that receive WIOA 2 funding. If you are one of those schools, you know exactly what I mean. If you aren't, it's okay, because we partner with our AEBG Technical Assistance Project to help do these same tasks for all of the schools across the state of California. So if you need some help, you can hear more from Veronica later about how you can request information and additional services. So I'm getting some posts about has been disabled. Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. It looks like your district isn't allowing it. So you can download it from the pod here on the lower left-hand corner. And it is in a PowerPoint format. So hopefully you'll be able to download. If you still get error messages, let us know and we'll have to send it to you under separate cover. So what is Rachel? So it is an acronym. It stands for Remote Access Community Hotspot for Education and Learning. I thought that was quite clever. This device was actually developed by a worldwide nonprofit organization called World Possible. And basically their vision is to provide quality education to everyone without cost or very low cost. So they work in very remote areas of Guatemala, Ethiopia, Namibia, Kenya, Sierra Leone, and many others. And basically what happens is this device provides access to learning resources for all learners in that location. Basically, it brings the internet to individuals who may be incarcerated or homebound in very rural or very remote areas, so the learning comes to them. It's very inexpensive. It's $500, but it comes loaded with content and curriculum that you can use immediately. So we'll look at it, don't worry. We'll give you an opportunity to take a peek at what's inside this device. And it also allows you the flexibility to let you or your teachers add your own teacher-developed materials to the device. You can learn about what kind of content is available later in the session. But one thing you need to understand, and this is why I asked the question about open educational resources, all of the materials loaded on this device are licensed under Creative Commons licensing. So that means they're freely available for you to use and to reuse and remix. There are some materials that don't have the ability to remix unless you have the right type of software. But still, it's basically what, as World Possible says, we're delivering a copy of the internet. It's an educational slice of free OER content. And they're basically building a digital library of the world's leading online educational resources for you to download and use offline, meaning you do not have to have an internet connection to use this material. You do have to be close enough to this device to connect to it. And that's the beauty of why it can be very useful for individuals that are incarcerated or they're homebound and they don't have access to the internet. So before I go any farther, do we have any questions about the basic concept of this device, the Remote Access Community Hotspot for Education and Learning? I'm going to pause and take a peek at the chat pod here. See if we've got any questions. None of the leaks are working, so Melinda will make that. We'll fix that. It must be on my permissions. Ed, it depends. If you have the capability and you have Google Classroom or Edgenuity in a downloadable form, like you have exported your classroom, and I would have to defer to the Google experts on that, or if Edgenuity could be downloaded in a form that can be a file format, then you probably could. For example, I know that I can load a copy of Moodle, a learning management system, onto this device and take it into remote areas and allow learners to use it and be able to track their participation and their goals. Okay. And Cecilia, you're correct. If you have Chromebooks, they all have it in their hands, but they can't do anything. I mean, if you don't have access to content, yeah, what's the point? This device could change that. As long as those Chromebooks have wireless connectivity options or availability, then they can connect to this device and they can access all of the materials that are preloaded on the device. Or, as I said, if you have teachers that have created materials that they want to share, they can do that. Cheryl, it cannot access Schoology learning management system through the internet because it's designed to be an offline device. It has lots of materials already preloaded on it. If you can kind of think of this as a USB drive with lots of stuff on it, but instead of one person plugging it into a computer and having access, 50 people can connect to it wirelessly and then be able to get to that information. They can only be about 50 feet, Celia. So that's why, again, this is very good for especially our incarcerated learners because they don't have access to the wild west of the internet. So putting this in, and I'll show you examples here in a minute, putting this in a jail situation, for example, can allow learners to gain those digital literacy skills and be able to access learning materials as well. Correct, Myra. You are correct. It's a hotspot, and it's preloaded with learning management material, or not learning management materials, but open educational resources. So let's see exactly what that may look like, some examples. So up in Oregon, the Incarcerated Oregon Youth work directly with Intel and World Possible, and they've really worked on making this something that can help. Especially, this was youth authority for folks that were either on parole in a jail situation or in a juvenile hall, that kind of thing. And so this is a nice quote from Intel. So they feel like they're really helping these young learners. So they also get to learn about their rights since they're incarcerated young adults because this material is all loaded on this device. But that's not the only place. I mean, I'm talking about corrections a lot because I have a passion for learning in corrections. I think that's a way to reduce recidivism, etc. But that's not all this can be used for. So let's take a look at another scenario. We have a lot of areas around the state of California. I'm sure you've been very aware of all the fires that have been going on. So I've had fire folks come to me, fire captains, and say, you know, I got all these young guys. They got these great smartphones, and we're way out in the middle of nowhere, and we're stuck on a mountainside. It would sure be great if I could have a way to provide them additional learning materials because they have to earn continuing education units, or they need to be studying for their GED, or maybe they're looking for a different type of job. So this is a way that this device can go with them, and they can be at the top of a mountain, and they can connect to this device, and they can then learn. Okay, so yeah, Myra, you're correct. Yes, and ABG Tech or Melinda, it is a self-contained hotspot. I can carry it with me. I'll show you an image of it here in just a minute. Get an idea of how it looks. We've had some Central Valley schools, organizations, consortia consider looking at this to go out into our agricultural fields to offer English language learners an opportunity to learn English, as well as to work on workforce skills learn about other careers that they might be interested in. And it's the possibilities are pretty much endless. The big challenge I feel is you've got to have teachers who are willing to go out to these remote areas, or maybe you already have remote areas, but you just have no way to provide content. So this is an option. This is a way that it can be done. So we looked at firefighters, we looked at agricultural. We've also seen it used in these urban settings where there may not be good internet connectivity in a building. Or I've had several adult schools that borrow, say, a room in a elementary school, but they will not allow the adult learners to access their local wireless system. So then what do you do? Well, Rachel can help you. This is another way that you can provide content. So we've talked a little bit about some of the uses. I'll pause here just a minute and see if there's any questions, or if you can think of a possible situation, ask about it, and let's talk about maybe, is this a way that you could provide learning materials to learners in different situations? Myra, yes, Rachel has preloaded content. I'll show it to you in just a moment, but you have full flexibility in adding your own, taking their stuff off, putting your stuff on. I see Ed is typing, so I'll wait just a moment. Yeah, and Ed, I think this would work well. You just have to remember that whatever your device is, it has to have the capability of connecting to a wireless network. So just like your Chromebook, when you take it home, if you have a wireless network at home and you connect it, then you know that that device is wireless ready. Most of them are these days. All of our phones are set up to be wirelessly connected. And I'll show you how this works here in just a minute. I'll actually demonstrate it for you because it's straightforward, it's simple. And the biggest thing is that, you know, I've got learners that might be trying to do something on their smartphone and it's a little small. Maybe it's just my eyeballs. I get little vision issues as I get older, right? So the Chromebooks in a rural area, I mean, especially if you have a cow or computer on wheels, or you're carrying around your Chromebooks in a charging station that you take remotely, this can be a really good fit. And it's the same cost, if not less expensive than a Chromebook. The last time I looked, I think this device is $500 pre-loaded with all the content that I will show you. Okay. So see, Ed's got another question. I'm going to move on and tell you a little story about one of our local folks. This is in Nevada County. It's not too far away here from Sacramento. And so it's between Lake Tahoe and Highway 49. It's got a pretty decent population. And this story has to do with the Wayne Brown Correctional Facility in Nevada County Jail. I've been working with an instructor up there who had seen, watched one of my webinars on Rachel. I think it was over a year ago now. And she worked with her local sheriff department about bringing this device into the correctional facility. So they have, Nevada County is about 3,000 people, but they have approximately 200, 250 inmates. So what she was looking at is using Rachel at this facility, and she started out really gently. She was like, here's what's here. This is for you to explore. Let's give you some options if you're doing some independent study. I think what she found surprising was the career planning, how they were looking at some interest, like I'll call them interest inventories. That's not what they call it, but it is a way for individuals to kind of determine where their interests may lie for a job, etc. Myra, the individuals who decided on the content are a whole group of what they call Friends of Rachel through World Possible, the nonprofit organization who makes this. And the content is decided on a couple of factors. The primary one being that it is free, meaning it's Creative Commons licensed and can be easily downloadable and redistributed and shared. Most of that content can go to several different topic areas. They also provide a lot of content in multiple languages. So if you have a situation at one of your remote sites where perhaps you're dealing with learners that speak Spanish. They have a lot of these materials that are downloaded in Spanish as well. So they make the decision. There's lots of options, and I would encourage you to explore them as we move along here. So in Nevada County, the instructor was really looking at, what's available there. And so I'm going to show you some screenshots, but don't worry, I'll get you connected to it in just a second. So this is what the Rachel homepage looks like. So you can see just a few of the things that they offer. I'm sure you've all heard of Khan Academy. Well, World Possible worked with the Academy to offer what they're calling here KA Lite. And so it's lots of videos and exercises using math for science and more. If you've used Khan Academy, you know the quality of that material, but they have across several different disciplines for science, computing, economics, etc. If you've ever heard of gcflearnfree.org, they've provided a lot of materials here. If you want to learn about software like Office 2013 or OpenOffice, or you want to do some career planning, or you want to look at online safety or social media, all of this is loaded on this device. So if you love those videos, Myra, then they're on this device, and you can carry it in your laptop bag or in your big purse. Okay, so they've got lots of different modules here, and I'll give you an opportunity to look yourself. So when Julie at Nevada County Jail was looking at, okay, how can I get my guys involved? Because this isn't just a matter of dealing with individuals that need one specific skill set. There were lots. Some of them didn't have their high school diploma. Some of them were, had their own issues, whether it was emotional or even physical. Of what were they doing here? How were they going to get out? What were they going to do when they got out? So she found most of them were leaning toward GCF Learn Free. So you see, Myra, you picked a good one. And looking at the career planning piece. And so once she recognized that, she was able to add to this device her own little worksheet, and I'll show it to you here, that she created for career planning using the one module in GCF Learn Free. Now this is loaded on the device. She took it from GCF Learn Free and modified it, okay? And then she allowed her learners to download it. They could edit it on their local computers, and then they could re-upload it into a student file folder on the device. So she had a means to take this curriculum in and out of the jail, because the jail was very concerned about them having access to inappropriate material. Yeah, so Myra, you've got it on a flash drive. The only thing is, the only person that can get to it is whatever you plug that flash drive into. So what we've done is, or what World Possible has done, is they've put it on this hotspot so anybody can get to it. So those of you that know about GCF Learn Free know that they provide a lot of free resources, and they're available for, as Julie said, she's downloaded them and she's using them in a different format here. I'm sorry, not Julie, but Myra. Julie did it too here because she talks about how she created and modified this worksheet. So this is an idea of, these are her learners. They were engaged. She had, for the first time, difficulty with when the class ended. And anybody who works in a jail system knows that that time is highly controlled. And so she just showed, how they were working both on computers, on devices. And now keep in mind, those computers you see in this screen are not connected to the Wild West internet. They are connected to the Rachel device, and they have access to all the material that's on it. Okay. So, we talked about Rachel. We take a look a little bit about how it's used, get some ideas of where it's used. But I want you to know there's great support for using this device. This screenshot here has a 40-minute overview of the Rachel device, how it works, how you modify it. The gentleman you see in the lower right-hand corner there is Jeremy Schwartz. He is the executive director of Rachel with World Possible. And he does a very nice job of explaining this nice overview of how You see Rachel, what's on it, and then he also provides a tutorial on how you can modify or change, show, and hide the modules that are on the device. So I'm just showing you two examples, but I want you to understand that this is a worldwide community that really believes in making sure that education is free for everyone. And there's amazing programmers and partnerships, not only with Intel, but many others around the world that do a lot with translation of different modules to different languages, etc. So what I want to do next here is I want to demonstrate how this actually works. So now, since this is a remote device, you can't do this because you're more than 50 feet away from me. Okay, so I'm going to use a little document camera and I'm going to connect, but I want you to just kind of look at these directions here. So this is on a phone, a device, a tablet. You've got to get connected to this device. So you go to your wireless connection and you look for that name that says Rachel. You're going to select it and then connect it. And when you open your browser, you'll land on the Rachel homepage. So I'm going to do a little switching here so the screen will kind of blip. So hold on. See if I can pull this over here like I want it. My little pod is being, there we go. Let me start sharing this. So this is my Rachel device. It is right next to me. I'm going to wave my hand over it so you can see that it's really real. I'm using a document camera to demonstrate this. So I have pressed this little power button here, which is why I'm getting these pretty little blue lights telling me that the device is on. So I'm going to set this aside. And I don't know, is this helpful? Does this light make it better? Get a little bit of a glare here, but let's see. So I'm going to bring my phone up. Try to get that glare out of the way. I'm going to try to bring this document camera down a little bit. So I have my device. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to go to the settings on my phone. So I'm just going to swipe down and choose my settings. And you can see that my Wi-Fi is currently disabled. All right, is everybody seeing that okay? Give me a yay or a nay in the chat pod, please. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to tap on my Wi-Fi, and I have to turn it on up here. So I'm just going to slide this over. And I'm going to wait a second, and I'm going to see these are all of the different Wi-Fi devices that are around me. And I've previously connected to Rachel, so it's telling me here that I'm now connected. But notice it says no internet. I'm just connected to that device. So since I've connected, I can switch over to my Chrome browser, and I am now connected to Rachel. And you can see it's World Possible. And there's a little button here. It's probably hard to read on your screen, but it says click here to start. Now remember, I'm on my phone, right? So it's going to load up, and you can see now these are all of the different modules. Now, please don't try to read this. I know you can't. I'm going to give you a link where you can look at it yourself here in just a second. But I didn't do anything to this device, okay? I didn't modify it. I didn't change any of the modules. I didn't add or delete. I just took it as it was loaded. So you can see there's GFC Learn Free on here. There's TED Talks, there's Radio Lab. I've got the Great Books of the World, which comes from the Gutenberg Project. I've got the Hesperian Health Guide, etc. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on, okay? So it is something that you as instructors would need to explore, but it definitely provides you a way to share information in an environment that needs to be off of the real internet, but you need to provide them the technology in the forms of logging into the hotspot. They learn technology skills on their devices, their computers, etc. Myra, yes, they do have a typing program. Let's go take a look and I'll show you where it is. I'm going to hide this pod because we don't, unless you guys have any questions.
Penny?
Yeah. Did I miss one?
Cecilia? Yes. Cecilia from Woodland had a question/statement.
Okay, so yes, Cecilia, you can bring it into your classroom. Oh, my phone just went to sleep, so let me just hide this. You can take it into the classroom. The students can use their smartphones. And yes, they could do the same kind of practice, but they wouldn't be on your device. They'd be on the internet. I mean, they'd be, online live. But yes, you would be definitely providing them the digital literacy skills in order to access the internet at home safely, hopefully, etc. Okay. Okay, now I want to give you some time. And this is the spot where you can go and look at this on your own. So hopefully I'll get this typed in here, right? And when you click on that link in the chat pod, it should bring up, I'm going to go pull this over here. Oh, maybe I can't. Let me exit out of this. I'm going to share it, but I just want you to see where you should go. You should be here on Rachel. Cecilia got it? Okay. Everybody else? Veronica, great. Thank you. So you're just looking at a simulation of the content, but all of the links are live. So you're looking at what is on this device through the internet. Yes, Myra, they can work on whatever they want. So you could have some people doing math. You could have some people working on Edison Fun Robotics. The only limitations that I know of is that you're limited to about 50 connections, and they got to be about less than 50 feet away from you. So I find it fun to go to conferences and I present on Rachel and people are connected and then they walk out of the room and then they come back and they said, "Hey, I'm not on Rachel." And I went, "Yeah, you walked out of the room." So here you see Wikipedia for schools and what they cover. And I do want you to know was a wonderful conversation on Rachel Friends where, Wikipedia, of course, has its own issues, but they were really concerned and they got some feedback rather rapidly from some of the jail programs because some of the materials on Wikipedia is not appropriate for incarcerated adults. So this has been a journey to make sure there's nothing inappropriate on this version of Wikipedia. Well, Anna, you have to weigh it. I don't know how much you pay for a portable hotspot, but most portable hotspots that I know of have no content on them. They simply allow you to connect to the wild internet. This is not. It will not allow you to go and check your email. It will not allow you to go to, CNN.com because those things are not loaded on the device. Yes, this is controlled very much. Yes, you can, Celia, you can and look at Rachel at the Go Learn site, and please understand that all of this is customizable, meaning you can order this device, and one of those videos I showed you earlier, Jeremy shows you how you can delete modules or how you can go on to Rachel Friends, it's another support site here, and add other stuff, okay? Correct, Ed, no subscription. No subscription, a one-time purchase. Like you'd buy a USB drive, except this one is a USB drive on steroids. It's got 400 megabytes of stuff on it, and you can control it. And all you need is this device and an electrical outlet to plug it in. It's battery powered. It will run for 8 hours on a battery, and then you take it somewhere and you plug it in. Oh, Cecilia, oh, I'm sorry you had money that you didn't know what to spend it on. Come to OTAN's website and look at all the cool things that we have. Yeah. This is, and I want you to understand, when you explore this, there are other options. Rachel isn't the only device that works like this. For any of you that might know programmers, you may have heard of a device called Raspberry Pi. And it's a same concept, except it's about 1/3 the size of this device. So it allows you to load content on it, but it's much smaller. So this is not the only one, but I'm very pleased with how I like the organization and their vision for education. I like that they're using open educational resources and they're willing to share. So that's really straightforward. Alice, when you ask about updating the materials, the Rachel team, especially the Rachel Friends team, they will update the content about once or twice a year. I think it's every 6 months. And then you simply plug in your device to a live internet connection. There is a plug. Maybe I should show you that so you can see it, because I get this question a lot. Hold on. Let me start my webcam here. Come on. I pressed the button. Here we go. Hold on. So let me pull this over and let me show you here. So when you want to go so here's my device. Ooh, and do you notice how my colors are changing? My battery's getting low. So I'm going to flip this up on its edge. Okay. Oh, I need it higher. Hopefully you can see this. So I haven't plugged it into power, but this is my power connection here. And this is a USB drive if I want to transfer files from this device to someplace else. And this is my network cable. So I would take it back to my desk and I would take my network cable, and I should have had one here and I don't. Well, and I would plug this in here, which then allows this device to connect to the internet. And then you go to this website for Rachel Go Learn, or they have another actual URL for it. And then you can manage and update your device. You can download a new version. You can take the pods that you want. You have the choice. So it's easy to do. Does that answer your question, Alice? Okay, so I'm just showing you this website. I'm going to switch back over to my, just so you know, Sailor Academy textbooks and OpenStax textbooks, these are wonderful resources for post-secondary textbooks, so they might be a little high for your learners, but you can go to OpenStax online and you can find textbooks that are available, and they don't cost you anything. They're open educational resources. They allow you to pull out chapters, pull out units. You can mix up your own book, and then you can offer that to learners. There are statistics now showing how open educational resources in terms of textbooks have saved our learners. I think it's just over, last time I looked, it was something like $12 billion. So that's a pretty decent chunk of change. So you have other information here about what's here. Remember, I talked about the Oregon Youth Authority. So this is the information. It's specific to Oregon, yes. So you'd probably take this off, but it is a good way to understand, what's going on and how they provide, especially some legal resources, etc. Okay, so let's see here. Let me go back to my presentation. Trying to get around here. I think we'll be back. There we go. So you've got that website. Any other questions so far? Not yet. Okay, we have a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to show you a couple of other things. If you haven't heard of this, ATLO, it's Acquire, Test, Launch, and Operate. This is another company that provides a turnkey learning environment. Myra, yes, you can upload them, but you've got to make sure that your devices that you're using, so if it's a Chromebook, that they have a way to open an Excel file. And remember, Excel means you're using Microsoft Office, which costs money. So, as long as your learners have that on their device, then yes, you can put any file on there. You just have to be mindful of what your learners have access to. So this project here is launched out of Louisiana. And if you get an opportunity to look them up, I think I've got their website address on the next slide. And if I didn't, I will find it and post it for you. But this is a costly program. But what they've done is they've provided a protected bubble of the ability to provide learning materials for, let's say, across an entire state. So they provide a highly secure learning environment where they cannot get outside of this bubble. And so they've been doing a lot in Louisiana with, online testing programs for both high set, GED, all of the high school completion, high school equivalency programs. And they've been very successful with professional vocational certifications, especially in the Louisiana state prisons. Because what they found is that these learners look at access to this as a perk, and it allows them to earn a certificate that gives them a lifestyle sustaining wage when they leave. Some of the stories that I've heard about these guys include the local GM manufacturer in Louisiana has come to them, and the jail and the prison system where this system is in place, and they have a running agreement with the prison system that they want first shot at everyone that goes through their career in tech ed for their automotive program, because they're so well trained that they have to do no retraining on the basics, and they can put the candidates through their own GM training. These guys are coming out of prison, they have a certificate, and within, I'd say, 4 to 6 months, they're earning anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 a year with GM. That's pretty good for somebody who comes out of our correctional system, at least in the state of Louisiana, and has a good job, a sustaining job, and they have no recidivism with these learners. They're not going back, which is exactly what we want, right? So this is another type of program that allows for secure access to a learning environment. Now, this is different than a jail program. This is a full-on state prison system. So there are a lot more secure things going on, but it's the same concept. It's a secure way to allow people to get to content and to learn what they need to learn about using technology, and then learning what they need to learn in order to gain those necessary skills. And Ed, yes, on Google Drive, you can view Excel files and change them as Google Sheets. But remember, when you use Google Drive, you're actually connecting to the full-on wild internet. You would have to use an offline mode on this device, on the Rachel device, in order to access those files. But if you've done that locally, then you probably have no issues. Not a problem. So any other questions? I think we're just about, well, how much time do we have, Veronica? About 10 minutes? We have no questions. I don't know what else I can tell you about.
Yes, we have 10 minutes left.
Oh, and skip this slide because it's not good. Okay, so I am basically at the end of my presentation. I would like to spend some time talking about how you see this in your program. Could it be used at your adult school, at your local jail program, at a remote satellite site? Do you have partnerships with community-based organizations that maybe serve learners in remote areas, that they go out to agricultural sites, that they are learners that are in a fire camp or CCC? You can get these through World Ed and the Rachel.org site. I'll bring it up. Let me escape out of this because you guys don't need to see this anymore. Oops, helps if I could spell. So this is, oh, sorry, not World Ed. Too many things going on here. It's World Possible. So this is the organization, and up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see there's a link for Rachel. So you can buy it online, and you can, I'll post this in the chat pod so you can see exactly where I went. Well, Mara, if you're installing Wi-Fi, then your learners have access to the full internet. This is more useful for places that don't have a Wi-Fi system that connects to the internet. So I mean, measure that. I mean, what is the cost of installing a full internet connected Wi-Fi system? Okay, so now this is a good alternative to that. So this webpage that I gave you here on World Possible and about Rachel, it'll give you more information about the device. You can purchase it from their online store, and I believe I was right, it's still $500, $499. You can choose what it's preloaded with. You can say, don't load it with anything. I want to load my own stuff. You can get a warranty. You can get an extra power supply. You can add it to your cart. There you go. They are a nonprofit organization. So you can get an idea of, what the features are. Now they've gone up to 500 gigabytes of storage. 300 of it is their stuff or whatever you select. So they give you shipping information. This is very important. They discovered this with Rachel this past year, is that folks were leaving it plugged in all the time, and it was causing a problem with the batteries. So it's highly recommended that you charge the battery overnight and then run off the battery unplugged from the wall during the day. So again, this is where you can buy it. This is the cost of $499. You can, again, look at that preview. We just saw it. I gave you the link to that page, and you can pick and choose. My device has lots of materials that are in French and in Spanish. You may not want those. Maybe you want Spanish, but not French. So you have the choice. So I'm not seeing anything else about where we might use it. A couple of you said that you had, well, most of you said you didn't have a jail program. But let me ask you this. Could you foresee that you could go to either consortium members or directly to your local sheriff's department or maybe a local jail program and talk to them about providing education for the inmates, and you can show them a device that would ensure that they could not get out to the internet? This is a very closed system. Yeah, Cecile, that's a great strategy because you're going to get them to connect not to the Wi-Fi or the internet connection that they have through their cell phone. They're going to use their wireless connectivity to connect to Rachel. The migrant camp, I would love to see this used in a migrant camp. I think that there could be some amazing stuff going on in terms of providing them with not only the content, but getting them the digital literacy skills that they need as well if they want to move out of the migrant camps into something else. Alicia, I'd be interested in how long ago that was that you talked to them in Illinois, because I agree. You say the word technology and they like, too dangerous, bad, 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 bad. So presented it as a flash drive. Okay. Well, I will tell you that, what I've seen of Rachel has been highly successful because we've been able to show, like in Nevada County, Julie, the instructor, was able to show the sheriff because he connected with his phone and he went tootling around in Rachel and then he walked outside and he got disconnected. So he tried like getting to other websites that were either, I don't know which sites he tried, and he couldn't. He got an error message. So, oh, Cecilia, what a wonderful idea. I like that. You're going to retire and go out. I can see you. You can have your own little learning van with your Rachel MiFi system and lesson plans, and that would be awesome. Keep me posted on that project. I think that's super. That's very cool. Any other ideas? Ed, you mentioned wanting to use with Chromebooks or Google Drive. What environment would that be in? Classroom? Satellite site? I think it's really fine, interesting to see how this could be used. Yeah. I think that we, at least I feel like a lot of us that are in more populated areas, we look at internet connectivity more as utility than a luxury. And when we get outside, we're driving through, the middle of California and we're trying to call somebody and we can't, we have no internet connectivity, we have no wireless connectivity for our cell phones. Then all of a sudden we start realizing, got some limits here. And this kind of reduces those limits. So I think that's great. Yeah, Ed, I would be careful because I think Chromebooks, and I would have to defer again to the Google experts. I think Chromebooks really operate on only an internet connection. So we'd have to really see if you can work offline on those devices. I'm not sure because okay, my ABEG tech says yes, you can. So that's who I wanted to hear from. Okay, perfect. Then it'll work. So, gang, I see we're rapidly running out of time. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you learned something. I hope that it gives you some ideas for how you can expand your programs to reach those learners that are sometimes very difficult to reach in those remote areas that we have here in California and beyond. So I'll turn it back over to Veronica to do her final housekeeping and to shut things down. And let me just really quick flip over here so you have my contact information. And if you want to contact me, my email address is on there. And you do have license to use this presentation any way you like. So thank you, Veronica.
All right, thank you, Penny, for such an amazing interactive webinar today. I hope everyone enjoyed it and learned something new about Rachel. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Penny. Her email address is listed here. I've also posted in the chat pod the link to register for our upcoming webinars. We have one on Thursday that's actually hosted by the Chancellor's Office. It's an MIS update webinar, and then next Friday we will have a webinar with Virginia Hamilton on 3-year planning that matters, using human-centered design to support learning on a human scale. So please be sure to register for our upcoming webinars. Once I close the room at this time, an evaluation will appear on your screen. Please be sure to fill out this evaluation. It's a way to provide Penny feedback on what you thought about today's webinar, and also to address any technical assistance or professional development needs that you may have in the future. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.